In a forgotten mansion hidden deep in the woods, a man married 7 pregnant women. None of them were ever seen again. No graves. No goodbyes. And when a curious journalist goes looking for answers, she finds the horrifying reason why he refused to bury them. They said the old house on Blackthorn Hill was cursed, but no one knew the full truth. Whispers spoke of a man named Elias Granger, a reclusive, brooding figure who lived in that crumbling mansion surrounded by fog-drenched woods. He had married 7 times. Each wife had vanished within months, always after announcing they were pregnant. The townspeople never saw the women again and no graves were ever dug. It was a young journalist named Maeve who first dared to investigate. She was drawn to the mystery by an anonymous letter slid under her apartment door. The note read, "They never left. They're still in that house. But they are not alive." Maeve, eager for a breakthrough story, drove out to Blackthorn Hill with her camera and recorder. The mansion loomed before her like a skeleton, its windows like hollow eyes, its creaking timbers groaning with secrets. She knocked but no one answered. The front door, oddly, was unlocked. Dust floated like ash through the stale air, and faint music played from a warped record upstairs, something old, something sorrowful. She called out, but the only response was her echo. Then she found the wedding photos, framed portraits lining the hallway walls. Each woman was different, but all of them glowed with a similar radiance of early motherhood. And there, in every picture, was Elias, always smiling, always alone. None of the women appeared again in later photos. As Maeve walked deeper into the house, the air grew colder, heavy with a metallic scent. She felt eyes on her. Then she heard it, soft crying muffled behind the walls. Not one voice but several, overlapping, pleading. She hadn't come alone after all. Maeve's breath caught as she pressed her ear to the wall. The sobbing, so faint and layered it felt like the house itself was weeping, grew louder with each second. She backed away, her pulse racing. Every instinct told her to leave, but curiosity, sharpened by fear, drove her forward. She followed the sounds down a narrow hallway where peeling wallpaper revealed rotting wood beneath. A trapdoor creaked under her step, its hinges groaning like a dying breath. With trembling fingers she pulled it open. A hidden staircase spiraled into darkness, and with only her flashlight in hand, Maeve descended. The air below was thick with dampness and decay. It wasn't a basement, it was something older. Stone walls lined the underground passage, covered in cryptic carvings. Some looked like wombs, others like coffins. Her light flickered as she moved deeper, revealing makeshift rooms built into the rock. In one she found a cradle draped in cobwebs. In another, a torn dress still stained with blood. Maeve stumbled into a chamber where 7 worn chairs sat in a circle. On each sat a mannequin dressed in a wedding gown. Some dresses were torn, others yellowed with age. Maeve gasped. Each mannequin had a nameplate carved in wood at its feet. The names matched the ones from the marriage certificates she had found upstairs. One of them, however, had no head. A cold hand gripped her ankle. Maeve screamed and swung the flashlight down, only to see nothing. Just the empty floor. But the chill remained, and now there was breathing, soft, rapid, and coming from the corner of the room. Turning slowly, Maeve raised her light toward the source. There, half shrouded in shadow, stood a woman in a blood-stained veil, cradling her swollen stomach and whispering, "He won't bury us. He promised." Maeve couldn't move. The woman in the veil stared through her, eyes dull and empty, like they hadn't blinked in years. Her voice cracked as she repeated the same words over and over. "He promised. He promised. He won't let us rot." Maeve backed away, heart slamming against her ribs. But when her flashlight flickered and caught the other side of the chamber, she realized the horror had only begun. The walls were embedded with sealed glass panes. Behind each one something shifted, shapes pale and curled. Frozen mid-scream. The faces of pregnant women. Preserved. Like sleeping corpses in jars. Suddenly the dim lights above buzzed to life. Maeve spun to see Elias Granger standing at the top of the stairs, dressed immaculately in a black suit, holding a lantern. His face was calm, but his eyes held a quiet madness. "You weren't invited," he said, his voice smooth but cold. "But since you're here, I'll show you the rest." Maeve was frozen, unsure if she should run or scream. Elias stepped into the room, careful, deliberate, as if walking among saints. "They were perfect," he said, brushing dust off one of the mannequin dresses. "Each one carried a piece of heaven. I couldn't just put them in the ground. That would be disrespectful." "You killed them," Maeve choked out. Elias frowned. "No, they gave themselves to love, to life. But their bodies weren't strong enough. So I kept them here, safe, untouched. My children are with them, you see. Still growing. Still warm. Maeve's knees weakened. The woman in the veil stepped forward now, whispering in her ear, "He won't bury us. He's waiting for the birth. But it never comes." A scream built in Maeve's throat, but Elias smiled. "Don't worry. You'll understand soon. It only takes time, and love." Maeve's legs finally gave in, sending her stumbling backward into the ring of mannequins. Elias didn't flinch. He simply watched her with a strange tenderness, like a father amused by a frightened child. "I know what this looks like," he said, pacing slowly around the circle. "But love, true eternal love, demands sacrifice. The body is only temporary. The womb is a temple. Why bury a temple when it still echoes with life?" Maeve crawled to her feet, whispering to herself to stay calm, to think. She'd recorded everything, the mannequins, the preserved bodies, his confession. But her phone, still in her bag upstairs, was out of reach. Her only chance was to play along. "Elias," she said, trying to steady her voice. "If they're still alive somehow, why are they crying?" His eyes twitched. "Because they miss their children. I kept them here, because they're still waiting. You don't understand yet, but you will. You'll join them. You're not like the others, you came looking. That means you're ready." He turned and unlocked a rusted door at the far end of the chamber. It groaned open, and Maeve smelled the sharp tang of chemicals and rot. Inside was a twisted laboratory, tables lined with surgical tools, incubators full of black liquid, jars holding malformed fetuses, some twitching faintly. The walls were smeared with handprints, some tiny, others full-sized. In the center of the room stood an enormous glass tank. Inside floated something monstrous. A figure with a swollen stomach, yet hollow eyes and clawed fingers that scratched weakly at the glass. The shape inside the belly kicked, again and again, though the mother's body was long dead. "She's my greatest creation," Elias whispered, his voice trembling with awe. "This time the child will be born." Maeve's scream echoed through the cold stone halls, but no one above ground could hear it. Maeve knew then she was not a guest. She was a replacement. Elias stepped closer, holding a syringe filled with a thick, murky fluid. "It's a seed," he whispered. "Just a little help to begin the bond. You'll be perfect. You're curious, brave, just like Evelyn. She was the first, you know. The others, they followed. They always do." But Maeve wasn't going to be next. As he moved to inject her, Maeve grabbed a scalpel from the nearby table and slashed his arm. Elias screamed, dropping the syringe. She bolted out of the lab, heart pounding, vision swimming. She didn't know the way, but she didn't care. The walls pulsed, almost alive, as she raced past the glass coffins and wailing shadows. One of the mannequins suddenly turned its head, just slightly. Enough to freeze Maeve in her tracks. The woman inside was alive. "Help us," the voice croaked. Her fingers twitched against the glass. Maeve couldn't stop. Not now. Elias chased her, blood streaming from his arm. "You can't leave," he roared. "They need you. The birth needs a witness." She reached the spiral stairs and hurled herself up, breath ragged, chest tight. As she burst into the rotting main floor, she saw the front door, open now, wind howling through. And outside, headlights. A police car. She screamed, waving frantically. The officers rushed in, pulling her out as Elias howled from below. Maeve collapsed in the grass, crying, shaking as backup arrived and stormed the house. But they found nothing. No bodies. No mannequins. No lab. Just dust and darkness. Maeve tried to show them her footage, but her camera was wiped clean. They didn't believe her. Said she was overworked. Hallucinating. But that night in her apartment, a package arrived. Inside was a wedding dress. And a note. "Your turn."